Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Dr. Philippines from the studios of Love Beyond the Sea. As you may know, once in a while I like to ponder some difficult questions on love and relationships, and here is another one. What's the difference between being obsessed and in love with someone? And I thought this was a good question. What's the difference between being obsessed with someone and being in love with someone? Are there any similarities? Can you relate a time when you knew someone who was obsessed with another person? How did that turn out? Dr. Philippines has put some thought into this question, and we'll share that with you today. Please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea, because here you will get relationship advice for men looking for women overseas. In my case, I married a woman from the Philippines in 2015, and I want to help men with the things that they'll need to know about marrying a woman from another country. Now, initially, I thought this was going to be a toughie until I tried to visualize what each type of relationship might look like with real people. I have watched enough television with my wife to see what stalkers look like and how they treat the women of their desire, and how it goes if she doesn't feel the same way. Please leave a comment on YouTube or in the Love Beyond the Sea Community Corner message forum, and I'll put that link in the comments section and pin it there. We have a place called the Relationship Lounge where you can leave comments on topics like this. Now, I think this video can help you differentiate between strong feelings of affection, even obsession, and true love. Starting with obsession. Obsession, I believe, would differ from love in that obsession is probably going to be focused on self. If I'm obsessed with someone, yes, I'm focusing on that person I'm obsessed with, but it's really all about me. There's no real relationship. My primary thought, the primary one I want to please, if I am obsessed with someone, is myself. So I think focused on self would be part of obsession. Another aspect of obsession, as compared to love, would be a desire to possess. A desire to possess. You know, like they're mine. They belong to me. Now, I may say of my wife, who I love, she's mine, she's all mine, she's my Isa, but those are terms of endearment that do not get worked out in a relationship to be a trait of possessiveness. So I think that when you obsess over somebody, there is a desire to possess them, a desire to have them all to yourself and nobody else, they can be shared with. Also, another part of obsession would be not being interested in if the other person likes them also. In other words, as I get rid of these coronavirus updates here that come across all the time, not interested in if the other person likes them also. So if I'm obsessed with someone, I'm probably not too concerned with how they feel about me. In fact, I might just assume that they will feel about me the way I do about them. If I'm obsessed with somebody, I'm stalking them or whatever, then I might have the assumption that if they don't feel the same way about me right now, that they will once they meet me. But I don't think there's any huge interest in if the other person likes them also. Another aspect would be, I think it's obviously that when you're in love with someone and you're obsessed with somebody, you're going to be thinking a lot about that person. Both cases. It's just that the type of things that you're thinking about are not the same. Again, please leave comments here on this topic of the difference between being obsessed with someone and in love with someone. Also, in either case, I think it's possible that somebody might sacrifice for them to convince them to stay in that relationship. The key, though, is there really a relationship? Not likely. when somebody is obsessed with the person, usually the other person doesn't quite feel the same way about them. But, in both cases, you're thinking about them a lot. You might even make sacrifices for them. But they're completely different things. When you're obsessed with someone, I think that that person is probably very unrealistic about things, irrational, and overly positive. I don't know what's wrong with my throat, but it's better than coughing like I have been. They're unrealistic, irrational, overly positive. The person that they think is perfect isn't perfect, but they have this fantasy world, this dream world, and it's just not set in reality when they're obsessed with someone. Also, somebody might respond with anger when things don't go the way they want with this object of their desire, this person that they are obsessed with. When they find out that they're frightened of them, or they just don't like them the same way, chances are they could respond with a lot of anger. Also, in obsession, if they do find out that the person they're obsessed about doesn't have the same feelings about them, they might terminate that relationship early once this fantasy wears off. And I think that's a big part of obsession. It's fantasy, it's not based in reality. Now, I think there would be a lot of impatience with this type of relationship because it's not really a relationship. When you're obsessed with somebody, the person that's the obsessed one is going to get very impatient if they don't get their way. I think lust is involved with obsession, and I don't think that the person that is obsessed with someone is going to handle rejection very well. So all of that seems to be short-lived, probably won't end well. And I've never personally known somebody, despite being Dr. Philippines, that was obsessed about somebody to that degree. But I do know what love is. I love my wife very, very much. I think that to compare obsession with love, love is focused on the other person, not myself in my case. When you love someone, you desire them to have the freedom for new opportunities. You're not just going to chain them inside so you can't share them with anyone, like I mentioned earlier. You're going to desire to allow them freedom and independence so they can grow. It's just going to stifle them to not do that. So a desire to see personal growth would be a difference between love and obsession. In love, I would say there is trust. In obsession, there is not trust. There might be the misconception that that person feels the same way about them, but they probably don't. But in love, there is trust. Now, I mentioned earlier that if you're obsessed with somebody, you want to possess them. You don't want to share them with anyone. But in real love, if I knew someone that also had feelings for my wife, and let's say hypothetically, I learned or I believed that the other person would make her a better husband, then since I loved her, I would let or allow someone else marry her if I believed that they would be better for them. I wouldn't say, well, you're my possession, I can't share you with anyone. I would say, I want what's best for you, and quite frankly, I think it would be, Bill or somebody else, because I really think they would be better for you, and that's all I want, whatever's best for you. So that's the difference between obsession and love. Also, yes, you would sacrifice for them, just like you might if somebody was obsessed with someone. Just think it's all different when you really love them, because you're doing it for their benefit. Your relationship is about them and what's best for them. In love, I think there's being realistic. You realize the other person has flaws, where when somebody is obsessed with someone, I think you just overlook all those things. They think they're perfect. They think that nothing could go wrong. And uh, I think when you're looking at international relationship and you're not with that person every day, and they're way away from you, thousands of miles, and possibly a lot younger. I think there is a danger, a slight danger anyway, of becoming obsessed with that other person. If they start giving you the time of day and some attention, you might think more of it than you really should. And excuse me, you could develop some inordinate affections for them that are not going to be reciprocated. I think that can happen in a very long distance relationship, like the one that I had with my wife. She was 9,800 flight miles away. But I married her, and I feel like I've made good on all my promises to her. And I wasn't obsessed with her. I loved her. And I recognize her flaws, and you do that more and more when you're married with them. But because you love them, it doesn't matter, because you're not going to give them up. Um, they really do belong to you in a belonging sense when you were married, but they made the choice themselves to put them with you through marriage, where somebody that's obsessed tends to want to overpower and control the other person. So I think that in love, a person won't respond with inordinate anger because their expectations are realistic. I think they will be patient. They will wait for this person if they like them and they want to love them and have a long-lasting marital relationship. They're not going to coerce them or control them. They'll wait for them. They're in it for the long run. The bloom comes off the rose at some time, but they're in it for the long run, and they can handle rejection a lot easier, I think, than someone that is obsessed. So that's my thought here for the day. What is the difference between being obsessed with someone and in love with someone? Sometimes it can look the same, but if you look deeper, I think these sorts of traits will show, and then it will be clear what the difference is. So in explaining this, I hope you can tell that I am in love with and not obsessed with my love beyond the sea.